Hi there, and welcome to the Surviving Trauma Stories of Hope podcast. In today's episode, I'm flying solo, and I have a few things that I want to talk to you guys about. Starting with celebrating some milestones for the podcast, talking about why I'm writing the book, and with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I wanted to talk about cancer. At first, I was like, I really need to get someone to come on the show and talk about cancer, and I was like, wait, hang on. You're a cancer survivor. You do it. So as always, thank you to my listeners for joining me on this journey. Comment on the post on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, and let me know what you think of the episode. Stay tuned, and as always, keep listening. So I want to start with a podcast. If you've been following this journey, then you know it's been a calling of mine to do this podcast. And the podcast was born out of an intense desire to create something that would allow me to own my stories and touch lives. But in addition, I also wanted to find other survivors and spread hope. That is the true mission of the podcast, and I want to reach as many as I can. Now, when we talk about reach in the cyber world that we live in, it takes time. It takes time to gain traction, to build up a following, and my podcast is now 8 months old, and I'm excited to say that I made it this far. For me, that was huge. I watched how my reach grew over the last few months, from local to international. Of course, the most love is still from my home country right here in South Africa, closely followed by the United States, Canada, Lesotho, the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Reunion, and France. But I think out of all the local South African downloads, I'm the proudest of the downloads from Dunoon. This is an area in South Africa that needs hope. And if I can touch the lives of the people of Dunoon, then I'm happy. I also want to shout out to my listeners in the small towns in the areas like Caledon, Worcester, Krugersdorp, Grabouw, Middelburg, Atlantis, Strand, Stellenbosch, Kraaifontein, and Belleville, just to mention but a few. I appreciate you all, and I hope that my podcast brings you some hope in your day and leaves you feeling inspired. So next, I want to talk about why I am writing this book. If you've been following me on social media, you know that I've been writing a book, and I actually submitted my manuscript about a week ago. So like the podcast, it has been a feeling that would not lift off me. It came to me at a point in my life when no doors would open. You know, when you make your plans, but God has other plans. So I had to decide whether I would keep hitting my head against the closed doors or if I was going to walk through the doors that opened. Months later, I was brave enough to walk through the door that led me to my podcast. And when the door opened to write the book, I was ready. I am a firm believer that God has a plan and everything happens in His divine timing. So here I am writing a book, and it has been therapeutic for me. My book explores the intersections between traumatic events and healing that leads to a fulfilled life. Parts of the book give the reader glimpses into my life, and where I interview people for my book, glimpses into theirs. I hope that this book can inspire and teach as I share all the lessons that I have learned in my life. So, as I'm writing this book, I'm doing some research for the chapters. And I find cancer information, right? Because one of the chapters deals with my cancer journey. And so if you have walked this path, you will know one of the first things doctors tell you is to stay away from the internet. So they will always say the patient needs a mother, a father, a husband, a partner, a daughter, not a scientist, right? That's what they tell the loved ones. So I was pretty good about that. And I never looked at the internet until I wrote about it and did some research for my book. And as I scrolled through the pages on the internet, which can be very sterile and clinical and lots of facts, I just felt like I could not breathe. My cancer experience, has always been like a spiritual one for me. So I was never bothered with the science because I had and still have a fantastic team of doctors, nurses, radiologists who take care of me. So I know I'm in good hands with them. Not to mention, I have God and the whole spirit world. So what more do I need? So this is just a fraction of what I read on the internet. So I was looking at what is cancer and how does it start? So according to the American Cancer Society, 1 in 3 people in America are affected by cancer. I always knew that cancer starts because there's a division of cells that accelerate, but I never really did any research on it. So here I am staring at this page and it says, cancer starts within our cells. We are made up of trillions of cells that generally grow and divide as needed over our lifetime. When cells are abnormal or they get old, they usually die. Cancer starts when something goes wrong in this process and your cells keep making new cells and the old or abnormal ones don't die when they should. As the cancer cells grow out of control, they can crowd out normal cells. This makes it hard for your body to work the way it should. But for many people like me, cancer can be treated successfully and many people live healthy, fulfilled lives after cancer treatments. I also found that there are many different types of cancer, which I knew, when I was diagnosed. They explained to me, like within the cancer that I had, there was like a whole range of cancers. But just again, going through all these cancers, it just dawned on me what I've experienced and what I've survived. I think that, sometimes we're so quick to move on and move through and put things behind us. But I think we need to pause and really think about it and understand that we are warriors. In the words of a friend of mine, Lucille, cancer slayers. We've overcome this disease. And I'm happy to say that, I am cancer-free and I'm happy with that. So when I found all this, I, of course, could not breathe. And immediately I needed to take a walk in nature and I got my best friend on the phone because, she's just a phone call away every day. In the words of Oprah, Gail is her best friend and she's never been to a therapist in her life. Well, I also have a Gail and she's amazing because we speak every single day and we support each other and we love each other. And so I got her on the phone and we really managed to speak it through and gain some perspective and really process what I've read. So for all the survivors out there that are cancer-free, I say, I am so happy for you guys. It's amazing. You beat cancer. You're a warrior. Stay victorious. For those who have succumbed to the disease, I am so sorry for your loss. And here I'm speaking to the loved ones. And in general, I say, keep the faith. If you've been diagnosed, have courage, have hope to go through it, and trust in God and your medical team because cancer can be beaten. For everyone else, I cannot stress enough. I survived because of an early diagnosis. I did regular self-examinations, and if I felt something that was out of the ordinary, I would go to my doctor immediately. I am also used to still doing regular checkups, and I did that even before I was diagnosed with cancer. And so the cancer that I had at the time had metastasized, meaning that it was no longer in its original place where it started. It had already spread. But because it was detected early on, it was contained in one area, and that made my prognosis for beating cancer so much better. So remember that early detection saves lives, and I'm the result of that. To all of you guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay strong. That wraps up this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, please take a minute to give me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast directory so you don't miss an episode. Please consider following My Centered Life on Facebook and Instagram for daily inspiration. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You can catch me again in the next episode. Same time, same place. Sending you lots of love and light. Bye.